Hello, my name is Sam Pirozzolo, and this is Right Bites TV, and today I have my guest, Joanna Tierno, who is also a fellow Staten Islander, and we're going to be talking about rare diseases. So, Joanna, let me hand this over to you because by no means am I an expert, but you've told me that not only do you have one rare disease, but you have some others. So
Yes.
What can you tell me?
Well, there's a lot to say about rare diseases. I am affected by 3 rare diseases. 2 are primary immune deficiency diseases, and 1 is a rare skin condition. They all actually kind of are interrelated, but rare diseases do affect a lot of people, and probably a lot of people on Staten Island are affected by a rare disease in one way or another.
How did you find out that you had these rare diseases? Are there any symptoms to them? Is there something that you can tell people at home? Like, you know, if something's always been wrong with me, I don't know what it is, what can they have checked?
Well, I don't know if there's any general, like for all rare diseases. Rare diseases may present many, many different symptoms depending on the disease. All I can tell patients is that if you're not getting answers from your doctor, keep looking, keep searching. I ended up asking for the test that led to my diagnosis and saved my life.
But what kind of symptoms did you have?
Okay, so for primary immune deficiency disease, the symptoms you want to look for are severe infections, infections that aren't clearing up normally, infections that run in the family.
So there's a lot of different types of infections. I mean, you can get an infected hand, or you could have infection from a flu, or things like that, more viral. But
Yes.
So what are you talking about as an infection?
You know, you can look up online how many per year is abnormal, but if you're constantly sick, I had a lot of pneumonias. I had antibiotic resistant pneumonia long before anybody else, long before antibiotic resistance was really a thing.
Right.
I had 70% hearing loss from my eardrums rupturing all the time from ear infections. There was definitely a lot of signs that there was something, I was unusually sick. Now, most kids get sick. Get colds, you know, you'd have to look up the number of times. It might be 5, 6
So
times a year.
how old were you when you started getting sick?
6 months old.
6 months old. And I would have to imagine that the technology and the diagnosis is nothing, you know, like it was today. So how long did it actually take you to find out that you had something, like that you had a rare disease and were able to treat it properly?
Well, actually in my second decade of life, I was in my 20s.
You're in your 20s.
But I don't know if anything's actually improved that much from then to now, because
well, that's a pretty
we're not on the
unfortunate
radar.
statement.
We're not on the radar enough. So even doctors, and I spoke to a doctor actually about a week ago, and she said to me, you know, we only get, you know, maybe a paragraph or 2 about your condition in medical school.
In medical school. And so once you were diagnosed, you were able to begin the treatments?
Yes, and they saved my life because I had reached a point of being so sick for so long. All my blood levels were crazy. I had been paralyzed once for 3 days and no one could figure out why. I had internal bleeding and no one could figure out why that was happening, why I was having a bleeding disorder. So those tests led to me starting the treatment, which is, I'm lucky. 95% of rare diseases don't have a single FDA approved treatment.
Wow. So why do you think that is? Why is it so hard?
I think that there isn't necessarily the awareness, and sometimes not
money?
the financial incentives.
So why wouldn't there be financial incentives? I mean, my first guess, you know, taking, you know, the corporate structure as it is if there not enough people can pay for a cure, then they're not going to look for a cure. That's kind of a harsh thing, but does that apply in your case?
Well, rare diseases affect 200,000 people or less, you know, so I think that does impact, you know, how much research is being done. And there's a lot of issues as a rare disease patient. That, you know, you're a lot of times 50% of patients don't even have a foundation for their condition.
What do you mean by a foundation?
Like I'm connected with the Immune Deficiency Foundation, so if I need information or support or my doctor needs information, there's the place to go to. 50% of patients, there is nothing. So you can't pick up a brochure on your condition. You have no place to connect with other patients or meet other people.
But the biggest problem is being diagnosed. And
Yes.
once you're saying, so not only is it difficult to be diagnosed, once you're diagnosed, you really have nowhere to go but self-treatment or self-management. You're managing your own
Yes.
health care because your doctor doesn't really know, because you said basically they got a paragraph about it while they were in med school, and you have to go out and find the foundation who can maybe give you information you need to live.
Exactly. So patients are forced into being our own experts.
Wow.
And, you know, and in a lot of other ways, you know, we're forced into doing our own fundraisers because sometimes there is nothing else. Raising awareness, working with our politicians. you're forced into all these different roles where you're wearing a million different hats, and the same for parents of children with rare diseases. You know, they're wearing so many different hats, caring for a critically ill loved one that doesn't have a treatment. And, you know, also going to Washington, D.C. and trying to advocate and trying to raise funds for a treatment or a cure. And we have families on Staten Island that are desperately trying to raise the funds to find a cure so that their child can live.
Okay, so we're going to end this bite right here, and I want to go into part 2, where we'll actually talk about maybe one of the diseases that you have. And you mentioned that there are other families on Staten Island who I'm certainly sure could use some help, so maybe they could share these videos or maybe learn what foundations to get in touch with. So, you know, thank you for bringing this subject in. You know, even to me, it's kind of news. You see articles in the paper or on the news about rare disease, but you really don't know about it because when it doesn't affect your life, I don't want to say that people aren't concerned, but they have other things to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to go into, we'll do another bite on this in just a few. All
Great,
right?
thank you so much.